fellow students, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're doing well. And as per a special request, I have made this video for you. And the title of this video is How to Give Your Exam Paper to Get the Best Possible Results. Okay, so I have added a few tips based on my experience and from other teachers' experience, and by seeing various position holders and gold medalists how they basically do the paper, and I have chalked out some very important points. So I would like to share it with you. Okay, so if you look at it, the most important thing is that these points are basically being uh, obtained by me by comparing a difference between these two types of students. Okay, those students who score very heavily during the exam compared to those students who do not get good grades or basically get an F during an examination. So they have certain habit difference. They have certain basically uh, planning differences which they make during an examination. And I hope if you understand my these tips that I will be sharing with you right now, and if you follow them and you adhere to them very precisely and basically and during every exam that you will do from now on, it will be very beneficial for you during the rest of your career. Okay, so tip number one is always read the exam instruction thoroughly at the start of the paper. Okay, this is very important because if you just in hastily start up the question paper as question number one and try to solve it and do not read the exam instructions thoroughly, you basically will do not know what are the type of questions that are basically there at the next page of your examination. And another very important thing is that you do not know that which question should you attempt firstly as the best question. Okay, because if you start doing in haste questions on one side of the paper, you do not know what there is might be a very easy question that you know it very well on the other side, at the back side of the exam paper. So it is a very good that you read the exam instructions thoroughly at the start of the paper. Okay, so you have to basically make sure that what instructions the examiner is giving for question number one, what instructions is giving say for question number five, and what instructions that he's giving you for the question number three, which is on the back side of the paper. So when you read those instructions, you know that how to conduct your paper and how basically what's the teacher is basically asking for you by giving those special exam instructions. Okay, so it is very important and you can plan your paper after reading those instructions accordingly. Then read the exam or question paper thoroughly at least once or twice before hastily starting it and then regretting your mistakes at the end. Okay, this is very important that you have to always read the exam paper thoroughly, not only at least once, but if time permits, you have to read it twice, and then so that you are able to know what type of questions are being asked, what are the special topics of questions that the examiner is asking from you, and you have to decide by seeing those question papers that what are the questions that you will be attempting. First, what is going to be your plan of methodology by basically reading the question paper thoroughly. Okay, then you need to attempt all the questions. This is very important. Whenever you say if you are given five questions, always attempt all the questions. Do not leave any questions unanswered as you do not know. Okay, and are you are basically thinking that you do not have the confidence to attempt them, or you think you will do it wrongly and you will not attempt it, because you have to attempt all the questions. And because if you leave the questions unattempted, it will be a straight zero. But if you try to do a little bit out of it, you basically calculate basically uh, pluck out some data out of that question that you do not know. You draw some sort of an FBD for that problem that you do not know, or you try to you at least know the formula for that problem, that these formulas could be used in solving this problem, or you just write out some theory about that problem, or that this approach will be followed and this something like this, because when the teacher will see that you have at least a little bit of idea, so he will not give you a straight zero, he will give you some important marks. So those marks can be a make a break for you when he will total them at the end. So this is very important. Attempt all the questions. Okay, never leave any questions unanswered because when the teacher calculate, it will be a straight zero. Do not also do not as not only attempt leave any questions unanswered. Also, every question has some parts, so never leave parts of those questions as well. Okay, try to attempt as much as you can, so to get something out of it. Okay, so this is very important. Then always attempt the best questions that you know. Okay, this is very important as your first question. Remember, the first impression is the last impression. Okay, so whenever you I'm saying that read the examination question paper thoroughly. So because when you read it thoroughly, and basically you read the exam instructions thoroughly, if you do one and these things thoroughly, you will be able to basically, the advantage of reading these two tips thoroughly is that you will be able to pluck out the best possible question that you know the best. So always try to do the first question will be the best question that you know during an examination, because remember, the first impression is the last impression. So if you do the first question, you basically plan out an appropriate methodology, and basically you know what are the equations that will be used, what the fundamental equations that will be used, any special assumptions that will be used. You will be telling the examiner. Okay, so this is very important if you follow these tips. Okay, so remember, and again a very important thing, remember the first impression is the last impression. So by doing the first question properly and showing basically drawing an FBD, writing uh, what is required out of it, what formulas are to be used, what is going to be your solution plan, how would you conclude it, everything will be if as planned and shown in the first question, then that is basically a very good impression in front of the examiner. Okay, solve the problem that you know the least. This is very important for the last part of your examination. So what does it mean by this is that if question number one is your best question, then make sure the problem that you know the least, if there are 5 questions given in the exam, okay, solve the problem that you know least for the last part of your examination. Okay, so the one question that you think is your shaky question, that will always be your last. Okay, so because the after seeing your question number 1, 2, 3, 4, the examiner will be very impressed from you. So if this question lacks something, so basically there is a chance that you will be able to cover up that. Okay, and because I told you some techniques, tips also, right, draw an FBD, write some data out of it. Even though if you do not know much, basically you can write the solution if you know a little bit in your own theoretical words to get something out of it. Okay, so this will be the shaky question will be your last question. Okay, then if you are stuck in one question, this is also very important for long. Don't waste your time and jump ahead to solve other problems, and leave this one question you are stuck in for the last part of the exam. Okay, this is very important. If you are stuck in a problem, and for example there are 5 questions, okay, and basically if there are 5 questions and basically you have divided time equally among those, and if you are basically say you are giving basically some time for question number one and you have got some time for question two, but for one question number one, instead of you basically taken double the time, and instead of, and you have solved 2 questions in that time, but you have only solved one because you are stuck. Now what will happen, your time constraints will become very stringent, very tough, and now in that little time you have to do 4 questions. Okay, and your time window has already decreased. So when you will be in a haste, there is always a chance that you will commit a mistake, and there is sort of chance of that you can make some faults, or basically you can do problems or numericals wrongly. Okay, so this is very important. Don't waste time on one question. If you think you're taking a little bit time, just leave that question for the last and do the other question that you know well. Okay, then neat and clean handwriting always impresses everyone. This is very important during exam, regardless you will, it's an engineering paper, arts paper, or a law paper, anything like that. If you write very cleanly, neatly, and tidily, that is going to be a very good impression in front of an examiner. Okay, we do not need that your writing has to be very super perfect, or it just has to be neat and clean handwriting. Okay, and that the examiner should be able to read properly while when he's seeing your paper. Your writing should not be dirty, should not be shabby, and all the basically words that you write basically, and digits that you write in numericals, that should be properly readable to the examiner. Then very important thing is that the time management is the recipe of success during an examination. Okay, this is very important. Okay, for every question you have to properly manage your time. Okay, because you're given 5 questions, and if you do not properly manage it, what happens is that your time constraints will become stringent and you have to do all those problems in a haste. Okay, so manage your time accordingly. As you all know, time is money, so if you do not waste it on anything that is not properly planned. Again, before starting a question, see the numbers or marks division of this question and write accordingly. Okay, so whenever you start any question as per your choice, you are free to start any question. Always see how the teachers has given total numbers to that question that you are basically going to attempt. And not only that, but you also have to see what is the what are the numbers that he has broken up that in parts. Like for you're given a 12 numbers question, then and you are given basically say 3 parts. You have to see that this question contains is given to, 12 marks and there are 3 parts. Then you have to also be very careful that when you are doing the parts, say one part is of 8 numbers and the other 2 parts are basically of 2 numbers. Okay, to make it 12 numbers, so you have to basically give greater time to question number part A, which is of 8 numbers, and you have to give less time to those parts which are of 2 numbers. So do not do the other way around, that for 2 numbers in order to score you give them greater time, and for the 8 number question you give them less time and explain a little bit less. This is very important. Okay, then always write the correct question number and part number next to your solution. This is very important, that a lot of students make and lose a lot of numbers by this. So you always write the correct question number and part number next to your solution. For example, say if you are doing question number 3, okay, and basically then you have to write question number 3, and then you are doing question number 3 part A, question number 3 part B. Okay, so students, what do they do if they are doing question number 3 but they are in a hurry? They will write it as question number 2 and solve the entire problem as question number 3, but they have on the left hand side on the top they have written as question number 2, and they have inadvertently solved it as the question number 3. Okay, so this is very important, that you have to write the correct question number will have the correct solutions, because when the teacher is going to check the paper, he will see that this is question number 2, but when he will see the solution will be completely given and solved for question number 3. Now it is up to the teacher whether he will going to give you numbers or he will not give you numbers, because he has the right. If he says that question number 2 is written and the solution is of question number 3, which is not the solution of question number 2, he can give you a straight 0 and nobody can object because he is perfectly right. So do not do these foolish mistakes in a haste. Okay, then very important, always attempt part of the questions in sequence regardless of which question you want to attempt. Firstly, don't jumble in parts of the questions. Okay, so for example, if you are doing you can attempt any question. You say I want to attempt question number 3, you will attempt it like this: question number 3, question number 3A, question number 3B. Okay, but do not attempt it like this: question number 3, and then you do not attempt question number 3A, but you say question number 4A, then you do question number 5B, then you attempt question number 3B. Okay, never do this, never do this. This is basically a worst disaster to do when you are basically conducting your examination. So okay, never do this. You can basically attempt any question. Say I want to attempt question number 1. Okay, then this is question number 1, question number 1 part A, question number 1B. This is basically you're doing it in sequence regardless of whatever question you attempt. So this is a simple mistake that a lot of students do, and it might be basically they might there are chances that examiner who is counting the numbers, he can count it wrong. There is a chances that you do not put the proper symbols, the proper units in question number 3B. There's always a chance that you can make a mistake. There's always a chance that 3A and 3B are in continuation with each other, and some of the data of 3B that you are doing is in 3A. Okay, and then you have to look back at 3A turn the pages and do 3B, there's always a chance you can commit some mistakes, or basically a human error can be there. So always put all the question number, whatever you attempt, in sequence. Okay, that will be helpful, and a lot of teachers like it. Okay, then the last tip is always make a habit that you give yourself 5 to 10 minutes during the end of the examination. Okay, to recheck all your theoretical work and numerical solutions. This is very important tip that lot of good students always do, and the bad students basically never do this. So what is that? Whenever you, because if you follow all the tips that I have given you, then what will happen that you will be able to do all the, say, 5 questions are given before time, and when you are able to, by following my tips, you will be able to do those 5 questions before time. You will have ample time to check and recheck your theoretical work and numerical solutions. And during that time, as if you have committed any mistake, you can always recheck it and rectify that mistake. If you have basically, in a haste, you have missed out any part, say 3B or 3C, you have missed it out, then you have some time to basically cover it up and solve that part as quickly as possible so that you will not lose marks. And then the most important thing is when you check your paper and you see everything is perfectly defined and everything is precisely written, and it basically is a confidence booster for you, because when your confidence will be boosted in this paper, when you'll come for the next paper, you will be very much confident that you are doing, all your papers are going great. Okay, so this is very important tip that you must follow. These tips, whatever I have given you from the start, and if you follow this, it will be helpful not only for current exams but all your future exams, and it will always help you get good grades, and you can see the difference from the previous exams that you have given. And now if you follow my these tips, it will, you will see that there is a marked improvement in your GPA, and are great. I hope so. This video that I have given you, it will be quite beneficial for you, and I thank you all for seeing this video, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.